Hey there, Coastal Bend. Meteorologist Carly Smith here. We are talking about the storms that are moving through. Now, most of us aren't going to see a lot of rainfall, but we are going to see some high, strong wind gusts. So right now you do see that there is a heat advisory in place. We also have a small craft advisory out in our coastal waters until at least 1 p.m. And that really is for the same thing that this marine warning is for. That is until 10:45 a.m. That's these thunderstorms passing through. So we've got a severe thunderstorm watch that does include Matagorda Bay, but that's pretty much it across the coastal bend. So now we'll go back to radar. That's what everyone's interested in. Oh, I hit the wrong button. But here we go. Let it load. Thanks again for joining. Make sure you post your questions and I'll do my best to answer anything that you're concerned about. Now there is going to be a little bit of rain, but overall the strongest storms are way over here. So when we look at our 5 radars, which does include Houston, that's where the strongest storms have gone. And essentially what's going on is we're getting the outflow from that. I wonder if we can see that on the velocity. Not really. You kind of can. So what you see here, let me draw some arrows for you. So right here you see this outflow moving through. That's an outflow boundary from the storms as they track through San Antonio. They've really weakened. So the key target area of rainfall is going to be right through portions of southern Refugio County, Aransas County, then through Ingleside, Aransas Pass, and then it's going to continue to drift south. So areas along south side to Flower Bluff to Padre Island will see some of the rain, but all of Corpus Christi probably will not see the rain. So now we'll switch back to the Corpus Christi radar loop, and there you have it. So you see there's a few spotty showers where I showed off the outflow boundary. So we'll draw the arrows back on. So this is all the outflow boundary. There's storms that are trying to develop on that, but we just don't have the same forcing that is over here where we do have those thunderstorms. But what we are getting are some really strong wind gusts. And so when we take a look at the current winds, you haven't been watching anything. My bad. Someone probably commented that. All I see is you. You are right. I just got so into analyzing the storm, I totally missed that. But everything I said still applies. You just didn't get to see it. So here we have it. Let me go back to my graphics now that you can see what I'm seeing. So we'll have to start over with the watches and warnings. We've got a heat advisory, small craft advisory. It's really the wind that is the issue. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. We're sharing it now. I'm so sorry about that, but I appreciate everyone that did call me out because I didn't know, so thank you. These are our current winds. So Rockport did report a 52 mile per hour wind gust. Now it's 43 miles per hour. We've got 33 miles per hour in Beeville. And then the winds are shifting. So as this outflow boundary is going to move through, we're going to see the wind shift out of the north-northeast. So we've got northeast winds through Rockport, through Beeville, through Sinton, and through Mathis. And they're going to pick up as they do so. And that's that outflow boundary that I was mentioning on our satellite radar imagery. So what you're going to see here is going to be the radar. So we'll see that. Any rain in San Antonio this weekend? Thank you, Rose. I really appreciate it. So here's the rain. We're going to loop it. This weekend, so there is a slim chance for a little bit of rain, mostly today, and then Saturday a little bit less rain. Now San Antonio is still under a marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow. We'll take a look at the bigger picture and see in just a second. We just got from Calhoun County, there was a 39 mile per hour wind gust. So we've got some winds. The marine warnings are in place for 34 knots. And so that's going to be hazardous out on the water. We are going to get a little bit of rain. So this storm is going to sneak through areas like Flower Bluff. Let's look just at the Corpus Christi radar because that's what's really closer to the ground truth. So Rockport's got a thunderstorm, and as this outflow boundary is moving through, in fact, let me enhance this a little bit so we can see the outflow boundary. So right here is where the storms are. The outflow boundary is actually out ahead of the storm. So we're close to seeing the wind shift in Corpus Christi. Then we've got the outflow boundary here, and we've got the outflow boundary here. There's less storms developing on the weaker end of this outflow boundary because most of all the forcing is over here on the right side of the screen where the marine warnings are in place, where all the lightning is. So we're missing most of the rain this morning. But as this outflow boundary moves through, we're getting a few showers. It's going to skirt right along the coast. So I'm not confident in downtown Corpus Christi seeing a lot of rain. Actually, downtown may sneak in. Refinery Row, it's going to be a close call, but we are going to see the winds pick up as this happens. So again, here's a look at our wind gust forecast, and then we'll look at the big Texas picture, and we'll get a grasp on San Antonio for that question that popped up from Guadalupe. So here's our wind. Notice it's out of the southeast there in Sinton, it's out or northeast in Sinton, southeast in Corpus Christi. So that outflow boundary is not here yet, but we will see some thunderstorm action and some brief heavy rainfall as that outflow boundary does pass through. Here's the forecast for the wind. I hope this is the high res one. I think it is. So it's not picking up on the strongest wind gusts or really the shift. This might not be the high resolution model. Yeah, let's shift it to the HER. And let's shift the plots.
Carly, I just got an update on my phone, and I'm looking at radar.
You're not on the TV, John Thomas. But he was looking at the radar, just like you're looking at here, but actually we're looking at the winds right now. And
I got that alert.
Alert for the marine warning?
No, from the station on thunderstorm and wind.
Oh yeah, to watch my app, yeah.
7 minutes ago, and I'm late?
We are live, we're still live though, so you're not late.
Okay.
You can join the conversation, whether that's on 3 News Plus or right here on Facebook, which is where I'm keeping up with the comments. But what I'm doing right now is changing the model that we're using to update this wind speed. So we have the latest, most fresh, refreshed information. So there's the line coming in. So this is a little early from what the model was showing. But as it goes through, so this has it 11 to 2 across the coastal bend, and then it still keeps the wind pretty strong, around 30 to 40 miles per hour as the behind the storm, this line of thunderstorms. But I would say, so right now the current time is 9:30 or 9:28. This is showing, this is about where it's at right now. So pretend like at the top, it says, instead of 11, it says 9:30. Then we'll see this at 10:30. Then we'll see this. We'll see this at 11:30. So by noon, everyone will have some stronger wind gusts, a little bit more out of the northeast than these arrows are showing, because this HER, this latest high resolution model, we don't get the wind plot from that model. So they're conflicting, but overall not by much. So here's another look now at our radar version of this. So this does have Corpus Christi getting in on the action. So again, this is a little delayed. This should be 11, this 11 o'clock look is the current, essentially. So this is 9:30. This is 10:30. And this is 11:30. And then this would be 12:30. So by noon, the storms are to our south, and we'll start to see the wind starting to calm down closer to 30 miles per hour instead of some gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So that's going to be 9, 10, 11, 12 over the next 3 hours. Corpus Christi, we'll see the chance of rain at about, so if this 11 o'clock is 9, so really within the next 30 minutes, we're going to start to see some storms, some weather action popping up here in Corpus Christi. So golfing today could be a little challenging, just briefly. So if you're golfing between now and noon, yes, And if it's in Corpus Christi, yes. But if you're golfing a little bit further inland, you're going to have less problems. So this is the latest, though. It's going to be brief. So once the storms move through, it's going to be brief. There is a chance, I mean, you're barely going to notice it unless you're outside. But, okay, so with the golf, yes, the wind is going to stay a little active, a little gusty as this line is moving through. No rain weather, man. Get people's hopes up. Yeah. Well, Rockport, Port Aransas, right along the coast here, they are getting the rain. And I think Southside, Flower Bluff, Port Aransas have a good shot at rain. It's much more isolated once you get downtown Corpus Christi and west of there. So you're right. Rain falling now in Estes. Mathis is not going to get much. But we do have more coming in. So when I look at this, actually, we don't need the last 6 hours. Let's just look at the last hour. So right now, this is really fueling. This is probably a more upper level activity that's kind of fueling this line pushing through. So this all is going to drift a little bit south, but it's still tracking more so toward Victoria than here in Corpus Christi, unfortunately. So I don't expect us to get much. Again, when we look at the HRRR, which has been the more reliable model, it's off by about 2 hours, but that's not uncommon, especially with these type of forecasts. We want the more rapid, the quick HRRR is how I have it labeled in here. Oh, your son, is it a birthday party? Because happy birthday. So this is the best model. So there is a slim chance for a little bit of rain in Mathis over the next hour or two, but by noon, everything will be cleared out. It doesn't look like we see much. In fact, this model has pulled off. They still have some storms sneaking in around midnight from the dry line. We'll take one look at this bigger picture. So this is going to be our other high resolution model, but it hasn't been doing well with the initiation. This is even later. So all of these storms, it has them at 2 p.m. They're moving through right now. So it is off. But with that being said, there is a chance that some storms make it in from the dry line, but that would be late this evening, closer to midnight, anywhere between 10 p.m. and about 2 a.m. And then over the weekend, we're mostly just looking hot. Let me take away the hot. Okay, I'll take away the hot so we can look at San Antonio, if Guadalupe, you're still watching. So the stationary front's still interacting with San Antonio, but it looks like mostly just a few showers. Houston has a better chance for some strong to severe weather. We get the dry line action mostly across West Texas into Sunday morning, and then still looking fairly dry in San Antonio. So it's not a 0% chance of rain. There is a marginal risk of severe weather on Saturday, but as you see here, most of the activity, just a few showers early Saturday morning, and then maybe Saturday late evening around dinner time into the overnight hours. That looks like the best shot of rain in San Antonio. For us in the coastal bend, we've got this line moving through right now, and then I don't expect much again until we see any action from the dry line. So that's pretty much it. I am going to end this Facebook Live unless we have any other questions. It's the wind that really is going to be the bigger issue. I mean, we still have 300 people watching, so if y'all are still interested, I'm going to keep talking. I do have a meeting that I typically do at 9:30. Don't forget to go to Weatherfest also. That's taking place tomorrow. You do have to pay to get into the museum, but it is free if you have a WIT card or if you're a museum member, of course. So that is from 10 to 6 p.m. But let's get into the weather today because that's why most of you are watching. Let me go back to radar so we can look at the winds. Actually, let me make this easier for me to switch back and forth. So here's our current gust. Hey, Joel. Rockport is getting the rain. Portland getting the strong winds now. LeBron's accuracy, I mean, if he's playing outside in the wind, it's probably not great, but indoors, the weather doesn't affect that. Yeah, sea drift, actually there was a report of a funnel cloud near sea drift. It was probably a water spout, more so than a tornado, but water spouts are possible in these marine warnings that we've got going on. So here's a look at the wind. It's out of the northeast there. In Rockport, we reported a 53-mile-per-hour gust. Rockport now seeing a 38-mile-per-hour gust. Sinton's reading is only 17 miles per hour. Corpus Christi's 21 miles per hour. It's about to shift. So you see the shift happening now in Robstown and Mathis. Orange Grove is a little delayed. That weather sensor hasn't really been acting right either. So I would bet Orange Grove is starting to see a northeast wind, but we can really look at it on radar also. The wind is crazy right now in Portland, so you're thinking it's faster than, it's probably closer to what Rockport's experiencing, about 40 miles per hour. Oh, thanks, Miguel. Okay, so this is too long. We've got to shorten that. Last hour. So here we have it. The storms are passing through. Rockport getting in on it. We've got reports that the wind has really picked up in Ingleside. Let's look at the wind. Okay, so here we have it. The wind is, yeah, so I would say that outflow boundary now is about right here. So downtown Corpus Christi is about to see a wind shift, the airport's about to see a wind shift, and the wind behind this is about 20 miles per hour based on what rate? Oh, 36, 39, so we're still getting some 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts as this line is passing through. So we do have some 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible, and a very low chance of rain. It's mostly just wind, especially if you're west of Corpus Christi. So all of the rain opportunity is about from Sinton to Corpus Christi and east of there. And then the wind is for everyone. The wind is going to pick up. Are expecting rain? Yes. North Padre Island, Jody, is going to get some rain. So we'll go back to the reflectivity, because this is just wind now. So your wind is also going to pick up. Some 40-mile-per-hour gusts are going to be possible. But it's this storm right here that's passing through Rockport. So I want to make it go for the last hour, so maybe we can time it out. Again, none of these storms are severe, but there is a marine warning in place for 34 knots for the wind gust. And that's one of the main reasons I came on, is Rockport did pick up a 53-mile-per-hour wind gust. So I wanted to make sure everyone was aware that we could be having some 40, 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts as this line of weakening thunderstorms is passing through. So this is all a part, actually, let me track this before I get sidetracked. I have a very scatterbrained brain, so I lose track and go back to different things all the time. But so these storms are popping up and they're quickly weakening, and as they do so, new storms are popping up. So this is very interesting to me. Right here, watch this storm. Okay, it's gonna weaken, and then we're gonna get this new one that pops up right over Rockport. And so this one might actually continue to weaken as it approaches Padre Island, and we may see another one pop up a little bit closer to Flower Bluff if this trend continues, or even downtown Corpus Christi actually is more in line of those two arrows I posted. So we could see the next one more hitting west side of Corpus Christi if this trend continues. It's really hard to predict exactly how storms are going to pop up on an outflow boundary. So it's difficult. It's not easy. And in fact, I think the outflow boundary is actually already here. Oh, that's not the arrow I wanted. I wanted the curved one. So we have this curved boundary where you do see some new storms starting to pop up right near actually Padre Island. So I think Padre Island's going to see a little bit of rain. It's not going to be much. This is just going to be a quick passing kind of burst of rain, and then it's going to continue to be pushing south. But as this line, we could track out how fast this outflow boundary is moving. That would be nice to do. So it's moving at about 40 miles per hour. So that makes sense why the wind gusts are at least 40 miles per hour as this is passing through, because the boundary is moving that fast. So 40 mile per hour winds are likely as it's passing through. And then if we go to the now and then we track it, wait, is this set at 40 miles an hour? Yes, it is. Okay. So this is estimated times of arrival. So we've got it moving through Driscoll right about now. Current time is 9:41. Alice about 9:59. There are some pockets of rain up now close to the Mathis area, but it's going to be fast. So for the party, all of this is going to be through by noon. But regardless, so we do have a few isolated storms popping up a little bit further west, but they're so small and they're going to be so quick. They're not going to last for very long. But Kingsville, your wind's going to shift and pick up out of the northeast by about 10:12. Loyola Beach, 10:24. Rivera, 10:33. We just got a new update on the radar scan. 10:43. Fremont, 10:59. Falfurrias, and then it continues to move through Kennedy County toward, and then also into Brooks County toward Encino. So that is what we are tracking the timeline. There are some lightning strikes, so if you know anyone that's headed to the beach, tell them to hold off and wait just a little bit. I know CCISD is out of school for the first day. Wait for just about an hour. And then we're going to be seeing these storms moving through. So it's going to be nice. Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate that. When will the storm in Rockport hit Portland? So Portland is not going to get the storm in Rockport, but it is going to see a chance for one of these isolated cells that's in northern San Patricio County right now. So these storms are moving from the north to the south, and so we'll loop it so you can see that. So the Rockport storm isn't going to hit Portland, but if these little spotty storms that are developing a little bit further to the west keep doing that, then we're going to see a chance for some storms in Portland and Corpus Christi. Kaylee says it's raining sideways, so the wind is pretty strong. Let's look at those current wind gusts. Thank you, Jody. Okay, so these are the latest wind gusts. The wind has not shifted out of Corpus Christi yet, but it's coming. We've got a 22 mile per hour gust in Robstown, 25 miles per hour right now in Sinton. Ingleside isn't getting reported, 38 miles per hour still in Rockport. So Rockport has had some pretty strong wind gusts. Wow, how far back does this go? 1 a.m. So the winds started picking up in Beeville right at 9 a.m. Then Rockport about 9, I don't know why I said 4, about 9:15. We're still seeing the really strong wind gusts there. So 30 minutes at least of some strong wind gusts and some heavy rain in Rockport. It is starting to move out. It's not going to last for very long. As we go back to radar, we'll keep looking at that. Now there is a risk of severe weather, but it's a very low chance here in the coastal bend. These storms are only going to weaken as they continue to track south. So we are starting to see the storm pop up right over Mathis, but again, they're going to pop up, let out all the rain, and then continue to move on. So I don't expect it to rain for very long. These storms are pretty weak, but they are coming with at least 40 mile per hour wind gusts, but that's with or without a thunderstorm. So if you don't see any rain, you're still going to get the wind gusts that could be up to 40 miles an hour. So that boundary is now crossing into Corpus Christi as we speak. So our winds should be changing here pretty quickly. Let me know if you're noticing it. Thanks, Houston. So I'm wearing this weather dress. A lot of people have commented on the dress. I'm wearing this dress because we were live on First Edition at the Museum of Science and History downtown Corpus Christi Museum of Science and History for Weatherfest, which is coming up tomorrow. Now, this is something you do have to pay a museum entrance to get in. If you have a WIT card or a museum membership, it is free, but it's not free for everyone. And so here's a look. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have Weatherfest going on. It's going to be hot, humid, and breezy, but a fun-filled day. Again, that's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Museum of Science and History. We hope to see you there, but you do have to pay to enter the museum, again, unless you have a WIT card or a museum membership. So I want to make sure everyone is aware of that. But let's get back to the storms. I just wanted to touch on that for the reason behind the dress, because we had a lot of fun at the museum this morning. But now it's stormy and windy, and we're talking about it. So thanks, Lauren. Yeah, so these storms, this is over the last 6 hours. Let's do the last 4 hours, but let's make it satellite. Okay, we've got the last 3 hours. So this is all more so a part of a system that is moving from like right through San Antonio, tracking through Victoria, and also tracking through Houston. Now we do have a bit of a boundary that's set up, but this is a big old outflow boundary. This outflow boundary, it's still moving, but if it stalls at any point, we are going to have to watch out for storms developing on this with daytime heating later into the afternoon. So this is about where the outflow boundary is now. So it's a big boundary in the wake of the storm. Like, just watch it and see if you can pick up on where it is. You really pick up on it when we get the visible satellite showing up. So you can see where the cloud tops are, where that boundary is. I'm a little ahead of the boundary. It's not quite through Corpus Christi yet, but it's approaching. It's crossing over the bay now as we speak. Let's look at our tower cam. It's done in Rockport. Wow, that's the boundary. So that deep, dark cloud that's already passed through downtown, that's the outflow boundary. And we haven't seen a lot of storms pop up behind it. Let me go back. To the radar. That's an impressive shot. Let's go to the visible satellite imagery and see how the clouds. Okay, so don't get mad, but we're starting to see the storms pop up. The outflow boundary is past Corpus Christi, and the storms are starting to pop up to our south. That's not to say we're not going to get any rain. We still have the storm that's passing through Flower Bluff. It's still healthy looking, the one that went through Rockport, and we still have a few there north of us into San Patricio County. Let's make sure we just have the Corpus Christi radar on. Actually, wait, I want the visible satellite. And then I only want the Corpus Christi radar, because sometimes that can skew it because the other radars are scanning way higher in the atmosphere. But that also is a sign. Let's turn on the Brownsville one. So where the Brownsville is picking up, that means there's precipitation that isn't reaching the ground yet, showing up in the cloud tops. That's really fascinating. Let's go back to just the Corpus Christi one. So this is the storms popping up in Mathis. They're going to weaken. The new storms are popping up where that outflow boundary is already passed, out ahead of it. Actually, the storms are popping up ahead of the boundary. So what I'm seeing right here is right here is the outflow boundary. I grabbed the wrong arrow. Right here is our outflow boundary. And so what the outflow boundary is, all of this stuff behind the outflow boundary, you can already see the sky clearing out into Refugio. That's rain-cooled air. So this is going to be cooler air. Let's look at the temperatures. Strong wind gusts. Yeah, it's going to feel like it comes out of nowhere because there's a chance that we don't see any rain with this. It's just going to be like, boom, wind. So look at the temperatures. We're down to 70s in Rockport, Sinton, Beeville. We had gone 70s for low with the idea that storms were going to move through there, and here they are. So this morning it was crazy because I was like, it's 84 degrees, but now our low in the 70s is going to come true. The timing is just weird. The sun was out in Kingsville this morning and now cloudy. Yeah, and that on severe weather days, that's how it works. If the sun is out, it's going to cause more instability and give more boost to thunderstorms. So it's going to be very spotty. The further west you live, so Kingsville, Alice, it's going to be very small pockets of rain. It's not going to be a persistent long it's not going to be a persistent long storm. It's just going to be like, boom, we get some rain, and then it might move on, and you might get one or two other storms, but it's going to be fast. It's already done in Rockport. Waterspouts are possible with this storm, especially off on the shore, because you're getting more so our temperature in Corpus Christi is 87. That's about the temperature actually. Well, actually in the Gulf, it's closer to 84. So when you get the cooler water mixing with the warmer air, that just allows the winds to move at different speeds and create more of a mixing factor that helps spin up things like water spouts. So a land spout could be possible. I don't see a full-blown tornado, but more so it's water spouts that we're concerned with. And that's going to be now, Baffin Bay is also included in a marine warning. So there we have it. This is the latest look at our radar imagery. Baffin Bay, and as well as the ship channel through Kennedy County, is also under marine warning with water spouts possible. I just got another alert on my phone. I think they're just adding and continuing marine warnings. So the wind speeds within these are now being reported up to 50 knots or greater on the water. So that's really high, actually. Aransas Pass reported a 63 mile per hour wind speed. So that would be a severe thunderstorm. If that plays out, we should have a severe thunderstorm warning with a wind gust that high. So that's with this storm right here. Strong thunderstorms in southeastern Duval. Not getting a severe thunderstorm warning, but 50 mile per hour winds are going to be possible. This is Duval, Live Oak, Clayburgh, Jim Wells, Nueces. This is like everybody in this strong thunderstorm. So Nueces, Jim Wells, Clayburgh specifically, as well as a slender portion of Duval County. That's where they have 50 mile per hour winds possible. When we look at our latest wind gust, we're getting 46 mile per hour wind gusts now in Corpus Christi, 46 miles per hour. So that's pretty strong. I'm going to post a new radar update just outside of this live to Facebook and Twitter. Sun is now shining in Rockport. Yeah, that's that rain-cooled air. Once the rain-cooled air moves through, look at the satellite imagery. Look at that. There's the sun. So that's all rain-cooled air. So essentially when the air cools, it's not causing rising air anymore in order for those storms to be picked up. Okay, we've got 45 miles per hour at Matagorda Island. Let me see what these other reports are. 45 miles per hour. Corpus Christi just got up to 46 miles per hour. Bayside, 45 miles per hour was a report. So 50 mile per hour winds are likely. We could see some anywhere 40 to 60 miles per hour. Corpus Christi currently at 40 miles per hour. Sunshine will follow behind these storms. It's going to be very spotty. So I don't expect a ton of rain for Corpus Christi based on this image. We already have storms forming out ahead of the main line, but a downpour can't be ruled out. We've got a couple of downpours showing up from Alice to Orange Grove and Mathis. I want to put this into motion so it moves. There we have it. I'm still here, in case you're wondering. I'm just not talking because I'm trying to adjust the radar. Let me pull back up the Facebook so I can see what questions or reports y'all have. This Facebook chat is, or I need to check the YouTube live also. That's a great place to watch. Don Wood said, or Rockport is getting some heavy rain. Graduation at 8 p.m. We should be good. One thing we will be watching by 8 p.m. is how things develop on a dry line to our west. So wherever that dry line sets up some thunderstorms, there is a chance a few of those could sneak in. I would say probably more so after graduation, and they should weaken as they approach Corpus Christi. So I'm not confident in many of that hitting us, but Skidmore-Tynan High School, when is... Oh, that's the graduation, yeah. So Skidmore-Tynan, this is all going to be past you. It's already starting to move past you. San Patricio County is almost done with all of this, but I'm not confident in many of that hitting us. But Skidmore-Tynan High School, oh, that's the graduation, yeah. So Skidmore-Tynan, this is all going to be past you. It's already starting to move past you. San Patricio County is almost done with all of this. Thanks for the cool down anytime. Yeah, temperatures are falling into the 70s behind this rain cooled air, so we definitely appreciate that. Thanks for the cool down anytime. Yeah, temperatures are falling into the 70s behind this rain cooled air, so we definitely appreciate that. Sorry if this typing is loud. Wind gusts are around 50 miles per hour with an outflow boundary moving through the coastal bend. Scattered thunderstorms have developed along the boundary. Temperatures are falling into the 70s with the rain cooled air. Don't forget too, we do have a live radar that's on our website that is actually really nice. You can check on and off things that you want to see, the warnings, the watches, which we don't have any except for marine warnings for 50 mile per hour or 50 knots. And additionally, there is a risk for some water spouts. So being on the water, not advised at this time, but this will pass and we'll see some improving conditions. There is a small craft advisory through 1 p.m. this afternoon, but the radar is actually really nice and it shows lightning, which not all radars do. Especially the good ones. So I use the KIII radar on our website to see lightning, and then I do have a separate radar app that I use because I have to pay extra for lightning that I use for analyzing things like velocity and the reflectivity and things like the cloud heights and even precip type things like that. But it's a nice tool to have. Our app is great also, and it has a link or a tab on there where you can submit photos, and that's a great tool to have also. Are we going to see some rain with this? It is very spotty rain, Zach, so the outflow boundary itself has already passed Corpus Christi, which makes me not confident that we're going to see much rain. The outflow boundary is now right about here. And the storms that are farther away from that boundary are weakening and new storms are forming. So we are getting a few storms that are popping up. So we also have, oh, wow, that was crazy. What we have is merging winds. So at the surface this morning, and you can see the fuel into this. It's really fascinating, actually. Sorry, I was really looking deep. So you see there's storms popping up that almost look like they're moving this way. That's kind of the fuel or the inflow. That's where our water spouts are going to be. Like this little, I just pointed at this storm. I wouldn't be surprised if a water spout pops up in one of those storms, because you've got merging wind, and that's what creates shear, which can then create a water spout. But you see these inflow, these storms kind of being brought up as they're flowing into this line. That is our surface wind from earlier this morning. Now as this outflow is moving in, it's shifting our wind out of the northeast, and that's creating the merge. You have to, when things come together, it then creates convection or rising air. It helps boost that convection. And so that's why we're seeing these spotty storms, but it's not quite strong enough to get the widespread storms. There's better forcing off in the Gulf and further to our east as the storms move through Houston. That's where the bulk of the rain is. Our storms are going to be really spotty, as you're seeing right here in this picture. It rained for like a minute in Mathis. Yes, that's about all you can expect is a quick little downpour. There might be one or two, if you're lucky, quick little downpours, and then this is all going to pass, and it's going to be done with and over. But again, we've got the marine warnings in place. We've seen the Matagorda Bay, Copano Bay, and Aransas Bay are no longer under a marine warning. The latest marine warning, or the one for Corpus Christi Bay, is until 10:45. So we have about 45 more minutes of some of the strongest wind. Let's look at our wind. It feels so good. Temperatures are falling into the 70s, which is amazing. We love to see it. So 46-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Corpus Christi, 49-mile-per-hour gust at the Naval Air Station. Rockport is still getting 37-mile-per-hour gusts, and Beeville is still getting 26-mile-per-hour gusts. We are starting to see Beeville's winds start to shift a little bit more east than northeast, but Corpus Christi's northeast. So Kingsville, this is coming for you. You're about to see your wind shift and pick up also. You're next on the target zone is Kingsville. Coming down good on the island, so the island is getting some nice rain. So we'll take a closer look at some of these storms. I want to look at the velocity. I'm curious. So the velocity isn't as impressive as the way they look without the velocity. But there is a low end risk for some water spouts. No tornadoes, but water spouts are going to be possible in this type of setup. So yeah, we do have some nice, you see, watch this outflow boundary, boom. That's the line moving south. But yeah, Kingsville, your wind should be shifting now as we speak. Let's look at the clouds. That gives a better view, actually. Over the last hour, there we have it. I want the satellite back. Let's see what y'all are saying. Started raining down here down navigation. Electrifying experience. These do have a few lightning strikes, but they're not overly congested with lightning unless you're out in the Gulf. We are starting to see, so this one is starting over Chapman Ranch. It is building. Something that I meant to do the last time I was on this live with the severe weather is cut the storm. So let's see what this looks like. So these are about 30,000 feet up, so they shouldn't have much hail. That's why they don't have a ton of lightning. Lightning is more, let's see how big those storms are out in the Gulf, if it will let me drag it over there. Let's just restart. Hold on, let's go 5 radars, DMA. Now let's cut it to see the 3D view. So where we have the lightning, they get up like 40 to 45 feet in the atmosphere. Where we have less lightning, these storms are, they're not as big, they're smaller. They're starting to get up to 40,000 feet, which is why we're starting to see a few strikes of lightning as this is moving into Claiborne County. But overall, they're just not as big or as impressive as the storms that moved through Houston and Victoria this morning. And that has to do with forcing in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. So we don't have the greatest forcing today, but we are getting the scattered rain, the isolated rain, and the strong wind gusts. The latest wind gusts now in Corpus Christi. Okay, we got a report. It's 49 miles per hour at the Naval Air Station, so we got that right here. Flower Bluff Mesonet, 46 miles per hour. Fulton, 45 miles per hour. Rockport, 40 miles per hour. 45 miles per hour, Rockport. So yeah, strong wind still happening, but it will start to calm down. We have easterly winds. Kingsville, your wind isn't out of the east yet, but it will be. It will be soon. So some of those storms are developing ahead of the outflow boundary. I think I was a little aggressive with it. Based on this, it looks like it's right here. So it might have slowed down a little bit. If this stalls anywhere in our area, we could see more thunderstorms this afternoon, which let's look at the latest Futurecast. So it's not having it stall. If it stalls, it looks like it might be to our south. Priscilla, where do you live? Are you in Kingsville? Because I'm waiting on the strong wind gusts there. It's already passed through Corpus Christi. We're getting some strong wind gusts here, but I'm curious to the Kingsville forecast. It does look like we're going to continue to have around 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts after this passes. Let's see how the wind is in San Antonio and Austin. Okay, so it did calm down. Houston is still seeing some 25 mile per hour gusts. We're seeing the strongest wind gusts right now because it's already passed through Houston. They're still out of the northeast though. It's been through there for about 2 hours. So The northeast wind will be nice. Let's see what our dew point is. '81 is our temperature in Corpus Christi. Wind is out of the northeast, sustained at 30 miles per hour. This one doesn't have our dew point. That's what I want to see. Oh, that's future. I need current dew point. Okay, there we have it. We went from 81 before the storm to 72. Beeville's down to 62. That's crazy. That's gonna feel really nice. Like really nice. So it's 74, feels like it's 74 in Beeville. 81 feels like it's 85. Kingsville right now is 91, feels like it's 107. But as these storms pass through, it's gonna be great. But it is windy right now, and that's the bigger issue, is that it's windy. It's like Flower Bluff and Padre Island's trash day, I believe, maybe some other areas. So trash cans are definitely getting blown around at this time. Is it a hurricane? El Nino. That's funny, Daniel. We're not technically quite to El Nino yet, but we're transitioning. Yes, Kingsville, the rain is very spotty, so it's very difficult to guarantee rain or no rain in Kingsville, but the wind is so close to picking up there, so close. And then you're going to get in on the northeast wind. Yes, it did pass through Mathis already. I don't expect any more storms in Mathis today. Let me look to the north and make sure before I make that call. But it's still a few spotty showers, but the main line has already passed through. Kingsville, odds are you're going to see at least a brief little pocket of rainfall, but it's not consistent for anyone. Corpus Christi, of course, it picked up. This storm increased in strength as it passed through, so we barely saw any rain, if any. This one popped up right there. There's a little bit of back building because our wind is out of the southeast, and these are kind of getting blown into the line or against the line. So we've slowed down. This is actually really fascinating, and it's crazy that I'm talking about it live as it's happening, but we might be seeing this boundary stalling out in our area, and that would actually keep us with a little bit more rain in the region. So the boundary is right here. And ahead of it, we have the flow coming like this. And behind it, we have the flow like this. And so where these kind of inflows are meeting up is where there's stronger pockets of storms developing, because there's merging wind right there. And I think our southeast wind is starting to slow down this line a bit. because it definitely was moving at 40 miles an hour initially. And now it's closer to 30. Thanks for playing along with my coloring on the map. It's not a derecho. We would have much stronger winds. You have to have some really high winds for it to be a derecho. So the derecho criteria is gust at least 58, and it's like consistent along the path. We haven't quite reached 58 miles per hour for any. There was one gust that was 63 miles per hour, I think. But overall, our gusts are closer to 50. So we're not quite to the derecho criteria. And then we would need several 75 mile per hour gusts, and we don't have that either. So this is from the derecho that went through Houston, which is probably why it was fresh on Gabe's mind, because we've talked about it recently, but that's not what this is. Yeah, thanks, Meredith. I'm glad you liked it. It is not going to rain all day, but it is contingent on if this boundary stalls in our area. So this is the last 3 hours. Actually, I want it to move faster. So it's still moving right now. It's not stalling, but it is getting slower as we see more storms developing southern Nueces County. So this is because we still have some southeast winds pushing up against it. We are getting a little bit of development, which makes it look like it's moving north, but it's going to keep, once it builds and grows, it's going to keep moving south. Sorry, I'm like real crouched analyzing this. Raining in the London area. So yeah, London, south of the airport, Chapman Ranch. This is where the latest thunderstorm is growing. There are some signs maybe of some pea-sized hail starting to show up. Wind is not super strong, but there are 50 mile per hour gusts. Let's look at the wind. Kingsville, finally, we're starting to see a shift in the wind. So we've got an easterly wind at 25 miles per hour. That's a good sign that it is still moving, but I think it has slowed down. But we still have 43 mile per hour gusts Corpus Christi, 49 Naval Air Station, 36 Port Aransas, and 37 Rockport. But Eva, it should not rain all day. So what I explained, I could adjust this Futurecast model where it fit a little better with what's currently happening. In fact, we should have a new model run now that it's 10 a.m. that's a little bit closer on the timeline. So this is still a little slow. I would say it's about, it still is running about 2 hours slow. So this is 10 o'clock, what it looks like right now. So this is 10 o'clock. It says noon. Bear with me. It's 10 o'clock. This is 11 o'clock. This is noon. So we should be done with this by noon for everybody that is wondering. It should be through the region by noon, and a spotty shower is possible, but we are not looking at more rain overnight until possibly around midnight. And that's going to be from storms over to our west. So I'm going to get rid of the data. We're going to zoom out and see how things develop along the dry line and elsewhere. So there are the storms developing on the dry line. What are these? Why are these not agreeing with each other? Okay, cloud coverage is a different model, but it's one that I really like. The graph, that's our in-house model, is the graph. It actually does a really good job with clouds. So now as we're getting more sunlight, we are getting a little bit more of our convective available potential energy. And so we should see more storms developing to the south as it moves through Kennedy County and so forth. But it's going to pass. And so anyway, regardless, let's backtrack. That was the latest update from the Weather Service. They were giving an update in our chat about what they're seeing. So some small hail and strong winds are going to be possible. 50 miles per hour right now is really the peak of what we've seen. And then some pea-sized hail is the peak of what we've seen so far. Now, with that being said, I don't really like the HRRR clouds, but I'm going to look at them and then decide if we go back to the graph. But we'll talk about the rain for now. I mean, the clouds are okay. Wow, the latest model might be trying to render out. Oh no, it only is going to like midnight. That should be right. So we'll pause it there. So this is about what we're seeing right now. This weekend, so essentially there's a low right here, and the low is moving. But there's actually not, the front is actually still up through here, kind of stalled out like this. And this right here is really just outflow boundary. And then we also have the dry line. Okay, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing in a second for everyone that's still bearing with me while I draw this. So the thing that's going to weaken these storms, so this is what I'm seeing with what I drew. So what we have here is the outflow boundary passing through. Again, this is about 2 hours off, so this is closer to noon. Our actual front is not moving through the coastal bend. This is just rain-cooled air with an outflow boundary. I wish it was a real front, but it's not. We're going to see our winds return back out of the southeast as this boundary really weakens and basically starts dissipating at this point. We have a chance of storms still along the stationary front where that is, and we have a chance of storms along the dry line. So those dry line storms are typically late afternoon development. So you see them starting to pop up around 4 p.m. Now, this model is not very confident on really any of those storms, making it very far off the dry line. There is a chance that we do see some storms move through early tomorrow morning. Here's the longer range version of this model that I'm showing you right now. It updates only every 6 hours. Let me make sure it's on the latest one before I show it to you. So this should be the latest run, which this has that secondary stuff coming in. So let's look at the bigger picture. The way these form, so these are essentially what's called a mesoscale convective vortex or convective system. And so they develop along stationary boundaries and just kind of follow them. They're like do along the boundary. And you get these clusters of storms that then group together and form that vortex that follows the boundary. As they get away from the boundary, they're gonna weaken. And so that's why we're not seeing the strongest storms, because we're so far away from that stationary boundary. But they're really difficult to really forecast much more until they've really developed. And so this is showing some action in San Angelo. Is that even happening right now? Part of the weather forecasting routine is taking a look at the current and then comparing that to the model and seeing how they compare. And so when we look at the model right now, there's some stuff trying to show up in San Angelo, but it's not this aggressive. So with that being said, I'm not overly confident that we're gonna see this like secondary round that this is trying to show storms moving in this evening. This has the dry line action weakening as it approaches us, which is exactly what it did last night. So I'm fairly confident with that scenario playing out. And then into Saturday, there's a few storms that try to develop kind of on outflow boundaries from these storms, and they kind of move backwards as they're kind of being pushed inflow into the dry line storms. Then this is showing, it tries to take a system which we don't have a front, so I'm not confident in that really pushing through. Let's look at the vorticity. So now we're gonna look at our upper atmosphere energy to see how this plays out in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So the high pressure has really been driving everything, right? So we have this high. But what we need for the storms to last in our area, let's set it to now so we make sure we have the latest model run. So this high might be a little off.
So we do have some vorticity tonight into tomorrow morning, which still could allow for some storms tonight. If they make it off the dry line, they could be pushed into our area. One of my favorite weather models. Now, I do attach to it more than I should because it does do me wrong sometimes. But it's showing the storms weakening before they get here. And that's what happened last night. But there is a little bit more vorticity in the upper levels tonight. So we could see another round of storms tonight. But that evening action, I'm not confident of that making it too far past San Antonio. Whatever happens in San Angelo makes it in San Antonio. I guess this still could be it, but I think it would be overnight, not like at 8 p.m. Now Sunday, this is interesting. This is kind of new. Early Sunday morning, there's a little bit of vorticity, which the HRRR was picking up on that. But tonight's actually looks better, and they have nothing versus tomorrow's. So this is the Euro that we're looking at for vorticity, which is a long-range model run. The HRRR is a little bit more short-term. But regardless, here's what I'm going to end this note on. What we are going to see is the one I just built. Let's look at that one. So we have this complex system that is going to weaken as it continues to move into Louisiana. Then we have a chance for some storms to develop right there near San Angelo, follow that stationary front toward San Antonio, and that's where it gets tricky. We have the mid-level energy that could bring it down into Corpus, but it also gets further away from that surface boundary. And without that surface boundary, it is going to be a little difficult for it to just solely be supported by the mid to upper level energy. So we're seeing the rain now. It's going to weaken noon to 1 p.m. As it does so, then we see a chance for a few storms overnight and into tomorrow morning. Then there's a slim chance we see another round Saturday night into Sunday morning. I don't expect rain during the day on Saturday, and I don't expect rain during the day on Sunday. So that's where I'm hanging my hat right now, is that timeline of events. So looking back at the current radar, and then we will end this unless there is obvious signs of some super strong wind gust. I'm going to go back and make sure I answer everyone's questions. Okay, the power has turned off and on 8 times in 30 minutes in Agay-Dusi. That's crazy. I mean, flickering, I'm not a power expert, but as long as it stays on and doesn't go off completely, I think that's better than nothing. We do have that. This is a nice storm that developed over Chapman Ridge, which isn't horrible because that's where stuff is growing, right? So we're getting the storms that are getting a little bit more strength and oomph because we've got more heating going on to the south. This rain, cool dare, I don't expect much where temperatures have fallen. Let's see what the temperature is now in Corpus. Marine warning, water spout possible, 40-knot wind. That is offshore, so this is not even including Baffin Bay now at this point. Okay, current temperature 81, feels like 84, but Kingsville 107.91. So we still have that 10-degree temperature difference, and right where that difference is between the cooler air and the hot air, that's where all the storms are bubbling up right now. All the storms are bubbling up right now. So I don't expect really anything else in Robstown, Corpus Christi, Port Aransas, but Kingsville, Chapman Ranch, Alice, y'all are going to continue to see some of this action as it kind of stalls out. You might actually wind up with more rain than the rest of us. In Corpus, I think I missed your time. I don't know if I've been clear on my time, if I'm being honest, because this is tricky because it's an outflow boundary, and the modeling data does not do well with outflow boundaries. It does so poorly, and so it makes my job very tough, and I have to basically just call it like I see it at this point. But the outflow boundary is past Corpus Christi. But if it stalls right where we have it, let's see, I do still see a boundary right let's go, wait, let's go to this one.
Oh, I was looking to see one of my photographers, Jeremy. If y'all watch First Edition, you hear his name from time to time. Had sent some tree damage that I meant to look at. Okay, so it's a limb, which means that was probably 40-mile-per-hour winds that did that. So that's not horrible. Unless it falls on a power line, then it's horrible, which is probably what Agaduce is dealing with. This is right on McCardle near Dick's Sporting Goods is where the tree limb has fallen down into the road, but it looks like they're on the scene trying to do something about it. So that probably has been fixed because he sent that to me a while ago. But tree limbs have probably fallen with these 40 to 50-mile-per-hour winds. Live wires from a caller, maybe down at Everhart and Saratoga. Live wires. That would be bad. Those are power lines. If you do see power lines down, it's best to turn around. Don't walk across them. Don't drive across them. They can be very dangerous. So this is about where I see the outflow boundary now. And over the last hour, it really is slowing down. It's like a mix of slowing down and but still moving. So that's still at 30 miles an hour. So if we time it out, assuming it keeps moving, that puts, I mean, there's already some storms in the Kennedy or Clayburgh or Kingsville area, but that puts it in Kingsville about now, the outflow boundary. I need to see if the wind was out of the east in Kingsville last I checked, not quite northeast, but almost there. We are getting some back building on that storm thanks to the southeast flow still at the surface in areas like Padre Island. So we do have some rain that's still showing up across Flower Bluff, Southside Padre Island. That's the lucky spot. If you're living in the Southside Chapman Ranch, Padre Island area, you're getting a nice soaking because the storm is basically kind of just sat over that area for longer than any of the other storms as the winds are just merging right there in that spot. But this puts it through Concepcion at 11:20. Like I said, by noon, I expect all of this to be cleared. The rain really has cooled things off. Power is completely out at Saratoga and Everhart. So we did get a report from a viewer that it's been flickering off, that there was a live power line on the ground in that area. So I would avoid the intersection of Saratoga and Everhart until they get that power line fixed. Polly and I just wasn't talking probably. So anything severe coming tonight, there's a very low chance. So I've overanalyzed this live in front of all of y'all that I usually do by myself in the weather corner of the building. But there is a low chance that we do see a storm move through. I think it's going to be weakening. I don't expect it to be very strong. I think this is going to be our strongest stuff right now as we speak. As this boundary kind of stalls, we could still see a few storms in the area this afternoon, but it's going to be south of Corpus Christi. So at this point, I don't expect much more for the airport or downtown Corpus Christi, but I do expect Clayburgh County, Kingsville, all of that area to keep getting some rain as we speak. Lightning, the biggest concern right now from Chapman Ranch down through Padre Island, as well as Padre Island National Seashore, as well as 50 mile per hour or 50 knots, which does take it up to about 55 miles per hour. So I don't know that conversion off the top of my head, but high from Three Rivers. Actually, I think knots is the faster one. I'm just going to type it in so I don't sound silly. Okay, so I was right. Actually, 55, well, 50 knots. I don't know why I thought 50 knots is equal to 57 miles per hour. So my estimate wasn't perfect, but it was close. And then I second guessed it, which I shouldn't do because I know my stuff. But we do have, this storm is really growing. Let's see how big it's gotten. So yeah, now it's up to 50,000 feet. That's when lightning really becomes more likely. And so we've got a lot of it. That's interesting. Okay. Clayburgh County, 1043, Loyola Beach, 1057. These are estimated times of arrival of the wind shift and a chance of thunderstorms. Concepcion, 1120. So this is still moving about 30 miles per hour. It might keep slowing down a little bit and then stall, but then that energy should keep moving offshore. So again, all the big forcing is way over here near Houston. Essentially, what we have going on, let's get back to a good view. So if you watch me draw on our Futurecast map, now I'm going to draw on this one. There's a low right about here. It is very much a surface level low. It's not impacting a lot of the area. And then we have, actually, I'm about to draw that wrong. Then we have a stationary boundary that goes up like this. And then we have a dry line that goes down like this. And what's moving through our region, which I don't have one to draw on, I'm going to have to change the tool. Is an outflow boundary. And as that low over East Texas, Southeast Texas tracks into Louisiana, it's going to take that energy from the outflow boundary off to the Gulf of Mexico also. So that's why we're not seeing a ton of activity building past Jim Wells County. Like Duval County has barely seen anything. But it's going to keep moving a little bit south and a little bit east. And as it does so, our rain chances are going to go down. So there we have the loop with that, and it's still moving, so that's a good sign. I get worried that it's going to stall, and then we're going to get more rain than I keep saying, but by noon, this should be south. It will be still in portions of Kennedy and Brooks County, but it should be south of us. No, we're going to get some sun. So we're already starting to see sun. Rockport saw the rain first. They're seeing mostly sunny skies now. Same story with Refugio and B County. This is our satellite imagery. This is visible satellite, so you're seeing that live as we speak. Now, there are some new storms popping up near San Antonio, but those are going to follow more along the stationary boundary. They're not going to come south to us away from that boundary. We have to get one of those lows, that surface low, which is the mesoscale convective vortex that pushes this into the area. We will stay windy throughout the day. Here's the look at the wind Futurecast. So this is the line moving through. Behind the line, we're still getting 30 mile per hour winds. They will return out of the southeast, but 30 to 35 mile per hour gust is expected throughout the day today. Then they go down a little bit overnight, and then we should see 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts again Saturday and Sunday during the day. So here's your weekend forecast for anyone that's curious. Storm chances early. Again, there is a very low chance we see a round of storms move through tonight into tomorrow morning, but that's dwindling down as we speak. Then Sunday, hot and humid. Southeast wind 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusts 35 miles per hour, so it will stay windy through the weekend. I'm not sure why there's like a weird static. But anyway, we'll look one more time at radar and then and Futurecast, and then we'll end this because
It's not severe, but I wanted to come on because our wind is pretty strong. So the latest look at the wind gust, the current ones, let me find them. Current wind gust. Oh, now the static is gone. Okay, current wind gust, 40 miles per hour, 39, Corpus Christi, 37 still Rockport, 25 now in Beeville. Kingsville's picked up to 25 miles per hour. As we look at radar, we have the storm that's really popping up south of Corpus Christi. It is starting to get a southward motion to it. So if we just look at the last 30 minutes, it's starting to move more south. It was just kind of sitting there and building, but we're starting to get more southern movement. Kingsville, very spotty action. This storm over Corpus is going to track more toward Baffin Bay than Kingsville. I don't expect it to reach Kingsville, but we've got a couple of these storms that are starting to get the southern motion to them as well, south of Robstown, that will give Kingsville a little bit of hope for some rain. The outflow boundary now is right through Kingsville, so it's right over you, Kingsville, and we're going to continue to see the thunderstorms south of Corpus Christi. This one does have some small hail in it. So the hail core is starting to show up now closer to an inch, would be severe, but it's very isolated, and now it's over a very, very rural part of Kennedy County, kind of swampy area north of Baffin Bay. So not a whole lot impacted by where the hail is, but there is some hail. And then we've got the velocity also. And so the wind isn't looking super strong at this point. But with that being said, we are still getting 40 mile per hour wind gusts, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts right as the boundary moves through. And then 20 to 40 miles per hour behind the boundary. One last look at Futurecast. Again, this has been running off by about 2 hours. So it's a little slow. Actually, that's not the one I want to show. That one's really slow. Here's the quick one. Three Rivers, it's already passed. So if you're north of Corpus Christi whatsoever, you're done with the bad weather for now. There is a chance, so this is going to show you the second chance. This is our stationary front that moves through Corpus Christi and weakens. So it's off by about 2 hours. So by noon, it should be to our south. A few spotty showers still possible about Kingsville and into Kennedy County and Brooks County. Then we see storms form on the dry line. These may tap into some upper level energy and track their way into Corpus, but this model is showing most of these storms weakening. So there is still a chance overnight for some strong, possibly severe thunderstorms to move through, but this is the worst that we're seeing right now based on the modeling data and what I see for the future. Now, the upper level energy does give me hope that we see a storm move through, but it should be weakening as it approaches the coast. And then Saturday and Sunday, there's a very low chance for some storms Saturday night into Sunday morning, but during the day we should be dry, which is great for graduations. And of course, Weatherfest. So if you missed it, I am dressed like Miss Frizzle because we are having a Weatherfest at the Science Museum and History, the Corpus Christi Science Museum and History. And so that's Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the museum. You do have to pay to get into the museum, but then you can enjoy the whole museum and our section, which is all focused on weather, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you have a WIT card or you're a museum member, it is free to you. We are hot, humid, breezy, and a fun-filled day ahead. So that is one last plug there. We'll look at radar and make sure everyone is doing okay and our winds one more time. Downpour in Rancho Vista for a good 30 minutes now. Yeah, that area is getting the good downpour. The rest of the region, anywhere from Alice to Kingsville, Falfurrias, is going to be very spotty. So Kingsville now is up to 25 miles per hour. You could see some 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts as the line continues to track south. And then finally, here's one last look at radar. if we were to get any type of warning that pops up that indicates the wind gets stronger than 50 miles per hour, I will hop back on. But I'm feeling pretty confident in everything that I've said lately that this should be done by noon. It should be to our south. We are still getting the nice heavy downpour. We could see some flooding in the Chapman Ranch area. So if you don't have to drive through Chapman Ranch, I would suggest taking, like if you have to drive from Corpus Christi to Kingsville, I would suggest, if you have to do it any time between now and I would say 4 p.m. because this water is going to have to go somewhere, I would suggest taking the Highway 77 route out of Kingsville versus going through Chapman Ranch to get to Kingsville, because these roads definitely could, some of those farm roads could definitely be flooded with poor draining in that area. Much less rain has fallen along Highway 77. So there you have it. These are your radar estimated rainfall totals. So radar is estimating around 2 inches of rain there. And then Driscoll region up to 1 inch, but less closer to where Highway 77 is. So that would be the better route, unless you're traveling after 5 o'clock. Once this has had time to find its way into a ditch or a creek, then things will be better through the farm roads. So Aransas Pass is done. So they saw it good earlier on, but it's done now with the rain. And that's pretty much all we have. So flooding is going to be possible. Chapman Ranch in northern Calabar County as the storm still kind of sits in the area, but it will start drifting south closer to Baffin Bay. You can already see it now over the last 30 minutes. You see it has its southern motion, so it's moving farther away from south side. There's still a little bit of back building over Padre Island, so you're still getting a nice soaking. But all of this should continue to move south and a little bit east, actually. Padre Island National Seashore will continue to see some of the heavy rain. Baffin Bay, if you know anyone that's about to go boating, tell them to hold off because this storm is about to go through. These marine warnings do have water spouts possible, and the wind is around 50 knots, so not good. Avoid the water. Baffin Bay is the next hot spot. Corpus Christi Bay should start to see improving conditions, but it is still going to be rather windy into the afternoon through about 4 p.m. I'm still expecting some gusts around 30 miles per hour, but Aransas Bay and Copano Bay have been taken out of marine warnings, so those bodies of water are safe to get back on. But that's about it. Kingsville, you're just going to get some spotty showers because this cluster south of Corpus Christi will slowly be drifting south and east away from Kingsville. But the Chapman Ranch area flooding, I think, is really my greatest concern, and also some hail and 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts are going to continue over till about 11:30, and then it will be closer to Baffin Bay by noon and out of the area by 1. And that's my latest timeline. And with that, I'm going to remind y'all that we've got a great weather app right here. And well, it's the 3 News app, so it has news and weather, but it's a great tool to have. There's radar on there, so you can track these storms. And please come out to Weatherfest. I hope to see y'all there. It's at the Corpus Christi Museum of Science and History from 10 to 6 p.m. If anything crazy happens, I will hop back on live, but I don't foresee that. Especially impacting any of our major cities. It's going to be Baffin Bay that's the target zone for the stronger thunderstorm that's moving through.